This is podcast number 629, and this week we are going to discuss The Last of Us episodes 4 through 5, The Residents 7 through 8 through the finale, Hacks 5 through 7, and Andor 4 through 6. And if you want to jump to any of these shows, you can check out the time code in the description below. And with that, let's get on with the show. TV Campfire Podcast. We talk TV. Welcome to the show. Welcome back, everybody. This is Livia. I am your host and television editor. And this week we have returning guests.
Hey, it's Malik El-Amin, Managing Director of Griot Theater.
This is Tom. I chair visual media arts at Palm Beach Atlantic University in Florida and also host the Screen Tom on Ride podcast for Spotify and iTunes.
This is Allison, and I write reviews for 6 Degrees of Geek.
All right, and let's start off with the news. This week we have a lot of news, mainly because
NBC bloodbath.
It was a bloodbath, and it was the upfronts, and most of the news is NBC news because they canceled half their lineup. So if you watch NBC, I am sorry. NBC has canceled Found, The Irrational, Night Court, Suits LA, Lopez versus Lopez. They have renewed Law and Order SVU, and all the Chicago shows and Hunting Party. There is a new comedy coming from Tracy Morgan and Daniel Radcliffe that has been ordered to series by NBC. Kristen Ritter has officially been confirmed to be on the new upcoming season 2 of Daredevil Born Again. Fox has ordered a thriller called Memory of the Killer starring Patrick Dempsey. And the one piece of news that I do want to talk about for a second, new Sunnydale pilot has cast its new Slayer in Ryan Kiera Armstrong. And for those of you who don't know, she was the main character that we all liked when we were watching Star Wars Skeleton Crew. So she was the young girl that was fantastic, that when we were reviewing the show, we were all talking about how great she was, and she was definitely the star of the show. And Sarah
She
was really terrific. And what was really great was Sarah Michelle Gellar calls her over Zoom and tells her, hey, I just wanted to chat. And by the way, you're the star of this new show. And you just get to see her cry and laugh and just be so happy. It was really nice. I liked how they broke that news, and it makes me excited.
Is Gellar like producing or something like that?
She's producing, and she's reoccurring. So she's
recurring.
She's the mentor figure. She's doing it so, yes, her name's attached, and it's going to bring in the droves of Buffy people, but she doesn't have to do it she doesn't have to be there every day. And also, she got cast in, there's other news, she's in another show. She just got cast in a whole other thriller show. So she's got another show she's going to be shooting at the same time. Having Buffy there to be her guide gives it some legitimacy. But we get a brand new crew, and we see a brand new Slayer, and she looks like she's 15. Though the only thing that worries me is it didn't get ordered to series. It's only a pilot. They've got a lot of talent involved, and so I'm really hopeful that it's going to be good. And I think because they're doing it on Hulu instead of doing 22 episodes on a network, you're not going to get your standalone goofy episodes. It's going to be a streamlined, I believe, 8 to 10 episodes a season. So yeah, I really I feel like Hulu would be crazy not to take this to series, but
no, I think it's going to rise and fall on the strength of the writing. I mean, that was the original show, was you had incredibly clever scripts and great dialogue and humor that really hit the mark. And I think that if the show is going to succeed, it's going to be because it manages to embrace the same things.
Let's start off with the shows. First, we're going to talk about The Last of Us episodes 4 and 5. Episode 4 was Seattle Day 1, and we get to see, we as the audience know that the wolves are massive. Like, they're a very, very vast army. And they're like, oh, it's probably a few guys. We'll just come in and sneak in. And we're just like, yeah, you guys are not. And what's cool is it starts with a flashback with Jeffrey Wright, who's playing Isaac. And it shows, it's not immediately after the outbreak, but it's far enough that you have the military force that I'm blanking on the name, what it's called. Fedra. There we go.
Dedra.
And showing how corrupt Fedra has become and that they're oppressing the citizens. And they're like, yes, they call them voters to mock them. And you can tell just how tired he is of the whole process and how war weary he is, and he wants to help the people.
And he's got that kid with him, the young guy.
He pulls him
and
out of the massacre.
Pulls him out.
Right.
And then basically blows up his own crew.
The best thing ever was how casually he tossed those grenades in. It almost felt like an afterthought. Like, it was such a casual move that was such a boss move, too, at the same time. It just blew my mind.
I loved his line before he did it. Before we knew he was going to do that, they tell that story about the voters and Greenberg. And Jeffrey Wright has that line, because you're all Greenberg, which gives you this sense about how he feels about them ahead of time. By the way, this has to be said. Jeffrey Wright is one of the best to ever do it. And it's always a joy to watch what he will cook up. Speaking of cooking up. So the next time we see him, it's present, and he's the leader of the wolves. And his opening scene almost seems like it's from MasterChef. Like, he's talking about food and cooking, and it's like, hold on.
And pans and the quality of pans.
Yes. So it's like, what kind of scene is this about? And then the camera pans, and you see that he's actually torturing somebody. He's torturing one of the wolves.
I knew he was torturing somebody about 5 words in. I was like, because the way they weren't showing who he was talking about, I was like, oh, some poor person is being tortured right now. But then what's crazy is when they pan over and they finally show the guy, I was like, oh my God, like, it was so shocking.
After he burns one of his hands with the pan, the other guy just sticks the other hand out and just shoots him. And the kid from the flashback scene is outside the door, and he's just world weary. It's like, yeah, these people suck.
One, it shows that they've basically become the monsters that they were trying to save everybody from.
Except
like
for,
go ahead.
We're going to find out those Seraphites they're cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Oh, but that's the whole thing, is nobody's a good guy. Everybody's a bad guy in this situation.
Well, Ellie and her crew are.
Not really. I mean, they're out for revenge. Yeah. That's not a high moral thing.
No, not even a little bit. And that's the thing that I like is
but she's our protagonist, so we've got to be on her side.
She is. But the danger and the tension that they really build is they show how massively dangerous the wolves are. And then they show how massively dangerous the Seraphites are. And then we have our main characters trying to thread the needle between them. And they're just, I was just like, they're not wolves. They're not Seraph. Like, just yell it. And I was like, it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter.
I think that the only exception is perhaps the first Seraphites that we saw. They looked like they were trying to actually escape the area. And they were talking a lot about nonviolence and peace. So I think that they were, and of course they're the first ones who get killed. But they're the ones who seem to be like a break-off group. Mm-hmm. Who wanted to have nothing to do with this battle that's going on, this endless war between these two groups. And it is, of course, natural that they are the ones, preaching peace, and they're the ones who get killed before.
Pretty immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah. I you talking about the Seraphites too, like the first time we see the work of the Seraphites where Ellie and them go to the radio station. They're like, okay, we're going to infiltrate the wolves. There's only like 10 of them or something, and we'll sneak in and get them. And of course, we know that's not true. And then they sneak into the building and they see all these wolves just hanging from their entrails. And they're just like, what is going on? Like, that's their first sense of they've stepped into something bigger than themselves.
They came to try to get the wolves. They see the work of the scarves. The wolves come back. They're running down through the subway. And now the clickers are a threat as well. And it's like they can't turn any direction without there being some threat. So I thought this episode did a really great job of just keeping that tension and showing that the threats are possible from kind of every direction. Yeah. So we do have the moment where Ellie gets bit and Dina sees that she got bit. And Dina is this close to ending her.
Shooting her she's like, don't you shoot me in the face.
I thought that was a great scene because we know what Dina's thinking. And then Ellie is a little slow to understand what Dina's thinking. So I just love the revelation when she figures out, oh, Dina's about to kill me. And so then the moment where she says, I'm immune, and Dina's response is, I'm pregnant, and then they start having sex, I'm like, I did not expect that kind of reaction.
It's a little abrupt.
Yeah.
So that was not on my bingo card for the episode.
I get what they were going for, because I listened to the podcast after. They were just kind of talking about just they didn't die and just reveling and they were still alive, and that culminates into this sweet love-making scene. I was like, I get what you're saying. Like, on paper, that makes sense. But when you're watching it, it's startling.
It is.
Like, because you're going from a really, really, really tense situation where you think one of them is going to die and you're kind of freaked out and you're just really tense. And then all of a sudden they're making love on the floor. And I was like, what?
You can now call me the oracle of TV Campfire, because last Campfire podcast, I predicted that Dina was pregnant.
You did.
And we saw when she stopped at that drugstore, I was like, oh, she's getting pregnancy tests. I picked that up before they revealed it. And then,
but yes, you get mad points. I did not see it coming.
So speaking of, I mean, we just said we didn't see coming that lovemaking exercise. For me, it actually worked because, and the alternatives were probably less interesting in terms of how they dealt with the revelations.
I want to talk about one of the scenes, like the next day, which is actually episode 5, where they start to explore the theater the next day, and she finds the instruments again. I was like, oh, are we doing another concert? We just did that. But what I really liked about it was she picks up the guitar, she strums, and then she says the first line of the song. And it's like, it hits her in that moment that she's been living in this like happy world where she has Dina and Dina's pregnant. And they're like, oh, what are we going to do with the baby? They're like planning a future. And she had kind of forgotten about Joel. And that song she was singing for video game nerds or whatever was the first song that Joel ever taught her. So, and the lyrics of the song are like, if I ever were to lose you is the first line. And she says that line and it like hits her like a ton of bricks that she had forgotten about Joel for like a minute. And then she like returned to that state of revenge. It just like clicked her back. And she is so focused on her revenge that she can't see anything else. She does ask Dina, do you want to go back? But she doesn't offer to go back with Dina. And so because she doesn't offer that, Dina's like, well, I'm not going to let you go by yourself. And I get it. And she tells this really good story about the first guy she ever killed, which, by the way, solidified Dina to me as a real 3-dimensional character. I really felt it. And I was like, oh, I don't want Dina to die now.
So while I agree with you, it had a little bit of echoes of Heath Ledger's The Joker when he tells his backstory and it's a different story with every person that he talks to. I was like, is she going to tell a different story next time?
I really like her as an actor. She's got a lot of charm.
Yes.
And she can deliver the emotional scenes. So I'm rooting for her as an individual to not get ganked. I'm rooting for them as a couple.
So the thing is, we saw Ellie fight one stalker in episode 2, I think. And she basically lost that fight. She got bit. And so now they go to this warehouse and they think there's one stalker. And there's 2 of us. We could take one. And I was like, even just the 2 of you, one, that doesn't sound good. But then you see that there's like 3. And you're like, oh, you guys should run. So they decide they're going to run and they turn around and there's 3 more on the other side. And I went, oh, you guys are dead. I did not know what was going to happen, especially once Ellie's fighting. She's doing a good job, but then she gets mobbed and there's like 3 or 4 of them on her. All of them are biting her. And Dina's run out of bullets and they're pulling apart the cage. And I was like, oh my God, what's going to happen? And then you hear the gunfire and I think it's the wolves at first. And I was like, well, now you're just in a worse situation. I was like, how is this going to be better if the wolves saved you? But then it's Jesse. And I was like, wait, I don't understand what's happening. I was like, how, what? I have so many questions.
When the scene was going down, I was thinking, yeah, there's no way they're getting out of this. So you have to introduce a third party. And it was one of two things. Either someone from the town, most likely Jesse, has followed them without them knowing at this to this point, or they are going to be captured by the wolves. And
that's what I thought. Yeah, that's what I thought was
Mhm.
going to
It was
happen.
either one of the two, but I knew that, I mean, they weren't just going to die there because it would be a very short series.
Yeah, but I also thought, because to be fair, as terrifying as Isaac is, I kind of want to have an Ellie Isaac scene.
Oh,
I think it's coming.
I
It's coming.
think they're leading up to that. That feels like more of a season finale type thing.
Yeah.
Okay, that's true.
For
But
my
I
money.
was like, you can't introduce this character and not have Ellie like interact with him, because I really want that to happen.
That sounds like season finale cliffhanger
Yes.
stuff.
But going back to Jesse's arrival, what I loved about that choice, many other shows would have had Jesse and/or somebody else show up
Tommy.
right when Dina and Ellie left the town. They would have gone to their rendezvous with a single horse, and they would have found somebody else waiting for them, or someone else would have caught up to them. That's how a lot of shows do that moment. I love that we didn't know that Jesse followed them until
He showed up.
it forced his hand because they were
Right.
about to die. So I think that was the best version of that. It's a trope, but I thought it was the best version of that trope in terms of what they chose to do here.
Yeah.
And then it's the out of the frying pan into the fire.
Yeah. Now they got to
Because
fight
they're in the freaking woods,
Yeah, and they're
watching
like,
the Seraphites do their cray stuff.
well, what's so crazy is they're like, I wonder why the wolves are not following us into the woods. And I was like, guys,
Like,
whatever.
that was your first clue.
I was like, if these guys all start like, oh, we can't go into the woods. I was like, oh no.
During this episode, everybody appears to have gone to the stormtrooper school of aiming and shooting. Nobody can hit anything. After Jesse shows up, nobody can hit anybody.
Machine guns all over the place.
Yeah, just missing all over the place. In all of the chaos, Ellie actually finds herself at the place she was trying to get to, the Wolves' headquarters. She finds the homegirl who was with her target when they killed Joel, and
Nora, by the way, for those.
Nora's her name. Yeah. So I mean, it's I kind of love what happens, but Ellie is a little out of character in how she gets.
I don't know if it's out of
tricked.
character. Oh, how she gets tricked.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nora shouldn't have been able to get away from her. She had a gun on her, and she starts telling this story, and it like distracts her, and then she throws something in her face.
Yeah, I get that, because she's playing on her emotions. She deliberately played on her emotions to get her distracted, but that did not help her later on. So
No, this isn't the first time we've seen the spores in action.
It is on the show. Yes,
On the show, okay.
On the show.
It's interesting because
in the game you get the spores in the first game, but they deliberately did not have them in season 1 because they didn't want the actors to have to wear gas masks. So there were no spores in season 1. So this is like they're saying that it's evolving and now it's airborne.
Well, those of us who know how fungi work knew that this was eventually going to come because,
I was actually surprised they didn't start that from the beginning, because I mean, this is supposed to be an evolved version of cordyceps, and that is precisely how cordyceps spreads through insects.
Yep.
Is by releasing the spores from, the dead insect. The way they did this here, first of all, the scene at the beginning, you see the woman in the office and she's talking about having sent the troops down. And she talks about, one in particular who was her best, who she sent down there. And you realize by the end of this monologue that this was her son.
Yeah.
Who she condemned.
Well, actually, was it Isaac or somebody else who says, sorry about your son? That's
it wasn't Isaac.
It was a nice reveal.
And I think it's the woman she's speaking to who says, something about her. I'm sorry about your son.
Right.
And it's so going down there that he sacrificed himself along with the others, not intentionally, but when you see the infected down there, and you read the name tag, and you see that his
name is Park.
One of those, yeah. It personalizes it so that it's not just another body. There's this sense of terrible dread that you get, and loss, even though you've never actually met this character. Yep. They just do this in this really brilliant way.
And just visually too, just seeing them breathe, just seeing
Uh-huh.
that the cordyceps were
Exhale.
using them as just like a delivery system. Like that's all they're good for now. And having them breathe the spores. And I liked how Ellie was just fascinated and was just looking around like, oh, this is kind of cool. Because she's immune. And then you hear Nora just coughing and coughing and coughing. And that realization that Nora has that Ellie is immune and that the whole thing about an immune girl was real. And she's just like strangely devastated by all of it. And she was like, we could have had a cure. And that even makes it worse that he did this and he's the worst person. And and Ellie was so cold during all of this. And she basically says, yes, I know what he did. Yes, I know who he is. And I don't care. And then commences to beat the crap out of her with a metal pole. Just wow. From an editing standpoint, that hard cut from that just cold monster who's torturing somebody for information. And then we cut to this kind of ethereal, bright day with breeze coming through. She wakes up and she's all innocent. She's like a little girl. And you have Joel come in and he's like, hey, kiddo. And she says, hi. And she's so cute and just so
bathed in innocence.
Yeah.
So is there anyone
brilliant.
who has not watched ahead that has an idea of what we're supposed to take from that?
I think the next episode is a flashback. I think in the next episode, it's just going to be an all flashback because we skipped 5 years. And I think we're going to get what we missed in the 5 years and understand finally what the fight between the two of them was about. I think we're going to get that. Yeah, they're falling out. We suspect, but I think we're going to, because when she wakes up.
It's never been said explicitly.
And when she wakes up from this and says hello, she's still not mad at him, not to where she's not speaking to him. And then I think the last episode, because there's only 7 of the season.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's only 7 episodes. So we only have 2 left. Dude, I have no notes. This is really, really good. I'm really enjoying this. Next up, we're going to talk about The Residents, episodes 7 and 8. This is when we finally wrap this all up and find out who the killer is. And we get, because in the last episode, we basically are like, okay, we're opening the case back up. Come back in.
Episode 7 is when she actually comes back to DC.
Right.
She's reopened the case. The 2 prime people who are explored are the engineer, Bruce Geller, and the housekeeper, Elsie Chale. So the whole episode is about those 2.
They were covering for each other, but they each thought the other one did it. And they thought they were covering for the other person because they were in love.
What I really thought was interesting about this episode is I really got into the love story between the 2 of them, because the way it played out, the way it unfolded with the history between the characters and whatnot. So it makes sense that everybody had a motive. I mean, that's the thing about the whole series, is everybody had a reason to kill this dude.
Right.
And had an argument with him. And so
does that make him, I have a question. Does that make him a bad boss that every single one of his employees had a motive to kill him? Because they kept playing it up like he was such a good guy and he was so together and everybody loved him. But then I'm like, but why did everyone want to kill him? You know, it just
everyone had a supposed motive to kill him. I don't think everyone really did want to do
I just feel like if that many people want to kill you, maybe you're not a good boss.
The difference between Bruce and Ellie's cases about hitting him are very different. So Ellie's case has to do with her ex-husband threatening her, revealing her past misdeeds. And so AB, as the boss, kind of has a responsibility. You can't learn that and then not act on it.
Right.
So there he's kind of being responsible. With Bruce, he basically hurt Bruce's feelings because Bruce has spent all this time solving this problem for the president, finally got it together, and then it was like his efforts were dismissed.
He was mad he didn't get the pat on the back.
Yeah. So those are 2 very different motives and 2 different kind of levels of accountability for AB. But I would agree with Tom. I think Tom said this in terms of the love story and being invested in that. We talk about flashbacks often. But I love the flashbacks for both of those characters. They say a friend will help you move and a good friend will help you move a body. So the fact that they each were covering when they think the other person murdered their boss tells you about the depth of that relationship.
But the best episode definitely is the last one, where we do the trope, the murder mystery trope, where we collect all of our suspects, put them all in one room, and she's like, well, I don't know which one of them did it. I'm going to see who blinks. So she lays out all the evidence to see how they all react. And I did not have this character exactly on my bingo card. I mean, because I wanted it to be Harry, because I hated him. But she was like my other least favorite character. So I'm also not mad that she's the one who did it, because I was like, oh yeah, that tracks. She was like just a little smarter than she was pretending to be, because some of the stuff she did was dumb. The only reason she got away with it as long as she did was because everybody else was covering for everybody else, and it confused the situation. Because if nobody
confusing is an interesting word to use here.
Okay.
So for much of this series, I enjoyed the complexity of what was going on. The last episode, though, the number of people who had to interact with AB, his body, moving it, covering it, was kind of ridiculous.
Absolutely.
So you talk about how she got away with it for so long. If there weren't so many people involved in some way, lying, covering, and everything else, maybe it wouldn't have been.
She would have been caught. Yeah, she would have been caught pretty immediately, I think, because she killed him kind of in the heat of the moment. She hadn't planned on it at all, and everything she did was super messy.
One of the things I really appreciated about the episode is, unlike some of the other murder mystery unlike similar shows, mainly the After Party, every single set of flashbacks and interrogation eventually pays off. And so it's kind of like a Rube Goldberg machine, because, the body was here and the amateur detective across the street saw the red light, and that turns out to be the president's brother-in-law, who's an idiot and keeps clocking up but it actually does make sense. And no wonder she needed to take some time away. She can look at it with a little bit fresher take.
Fresh eyes,
and as obnoxious as that chief of staff guy was, he did do the right thing by bringing her back. I mean,
well, I think he only did the right thing because he was trying to clear his own name.
Yep.
If it had nothing to do, like if he didn't look super guilty at the end of it, he wouldn't have done that at all.
So something that I was missing, and I don't know if anybody else was missing this from the finale. Do we remember the guy who was like the calligraphy guy?
Yes.
Who was writing the names and his hand was shaking?
They never explain that.
I'm like, why? And they went to that multiple times across the series, and they never explained why that was a thing. Nope. When I first saw it, I thought it had to be relevant to the case, and it just never came back again.
Not even a little bit.
Yeah,
I was super annoyed by that.
I think it was just a joke. That was it. It was just because it was.
Or they cut something, and
I feel like they cut something.
That's possible.
I feel like they cut something.
Yeah.
And they were like, he didn't do it. Don't worry about it.
I did like toward the very end, Lily Schumacher is the lady, where Cordelia it gets a little political, little classist. Rich people steal all the time. Laziness, arrogance, and contempt for the system. I'm like, ooh, snap. And then I thought the button on all this, before she leaves, she goes back to the White House and says, give me 5 minutes. And she goes to see Jane Curtin, the president's mother-in-law. And she's like, so did you solve it? Was it the snotty white girl, the snotty girl with the attitude? And then you should have asked me.
I could have told you that. I would love to see another season of this, because it was a brilliant show. It was funny as hell, and very clever. And Uzo Aduba is just marvelous. I could watch her anytime. They could bring back her little sidekick guy, because he's fine. But yeah, a whole new set of characters, whole new set of possible suspects. I would absolutely watch that.
I liked her much better than I like Tiffany Haddish in the right role. She annoyed me in the After Party, whereas Uzo, she was quirky, but she was fun quirky, not annoying quirky.
Next up, we're going to discuss Hacks, episodes 5 through 7. I enjoyed the first couple seasons a lot, but this season feels very repetitive. It feels like everything that we saw and enjoyed in the first couple seasons, let's do it again, but like bigger, but not better. I thought that now that she got the show, the nighttime show, that it would elevate it onto another level and be just amazing. And instead, we're hitting the same points over again, which is they don't trust each other, they're mad at each other. And finally, in like episode 6, they finally kind of come back together and you see some genuine feeling. But then, can you trust it? And it's only got 3 more episodes to finish, so I guess I'll finish it. But I'm just exhausted.
Well, since you're exhausted, we'll talk about the episodes. 405.
Go ahead.
Deborah, or Deborah, as we like to say.
That's a callback to the last podcast. You guys got to watch it. Go ahead.
She does a Jedi mind trick on Kristen Bell in the grocery store.
Okay, that was
to
really
get
cool.
her to show up as a guest on her show, which I think was kind of a fun bit. Overall, we had the idea that they're going back with the idea that the show is actually in last place and they have some goal of getting in first place before too much time passes by. So that's kind of the goal or the obstacle that they're facing is not just we have these personal things, but we've actually got to get this show to do better with the viewers.
Specifically, female viewers.
Yes. Between a certain
Mothers.
age demographic. Right. So they got their numbers, their data that told them who they were doing well with and who they were having a problem with. So that kind of sets us up.
Well, are you about to talk about Jimmy Kimmel and his threat, thinking like he in the mob? Like, that's the best part.
That was awesome.
That's the best part, because
awesome.
he's like Kristen Bell's mine. I put in the time. I did this. I dressed up in a goofy outfit. I did what I had to do to get her. She is loyal to me. You need to step off my turf. I was like, whoa, what is happening? And what was so great was Dedra, the look on her face. Like, she was scared. She was like, I done stepped into the nighttime mafia group. I'm sorry.
And I believe that
he
moment.
Was like Godfather. It was absolutely
It was so good.
I love when they showed the behind the scenes stuff later on, and it turns out that they just kept cracking each other up when they were trying to do that scene, because it's so hard for him to really be mean like that. But yeah, he sold it. It was an absolutely hilarious scene.
I'm not going to disagree with you, Libya. I think the problem was they spent too much time with the feud, because at the end of the day, once the ratings thing, once the network says get the ratings up or you're off the air, you need to put aside your differences.
Yep.
And basically, when Helen Hunt, as the network boss, told them you need to fix this or else, they shouldn't have done all these episodes with the passive aggressive behavior. I think that was a mistake in terms of.
Yep.
It should have ended there, because otherwise you're just playing the same beat time after time after time. Episode 6 is really where it kind of turns around, because Ava has the meltdown. They both have a valid point. Ava's trying to be buddy with the writers, but Deborah's trying to tell her they're not your friends, they're your employees.
Right.
And the fact that she finds out that they've been ordering expensive food on her dime, and she throws the, whatever expensive dish at the wall. The branzino at the wall.
It does not travel well.
She literally drives off the lot, breaks the gate. Nobody can see her. Everybody thinks she might have, done something. And the throuple goes away because the couple dump her, because she's all about her and not about trying to get to know them, which, again, makes sense. That's an arc that they didn't play out too long. Yeah. It was, 3 episodes? That was just the right amount of real estate for it. So they end up at the beach, and then we find out that, oh my gosh, Deborah does really care and thinks that Ava might have waded into the ocean, and Deborah ruins in a very expensive coat. Finally, they're seem to be on the same side. And the next episode, the christening of Deborah's grandchild. DJ tells her that you have a relationship with my mom that I don't, that I kind of wish I had. That's why I chose you as the godmother, because that way my son can get to know his grandmother through you, even though I have a lot of animus. Right. And that, for me, that was the episode that kind of got this season back on track.
I would agree with that. I really thought that moment where she confessed about the relationship, one, that actress shows that even within this comedy and the character that she has been written, she's capable of bringing some really exciting stuff to the scene and to the screen. Conversely or inversely, one of those. We'll have to get back to my math on another day. I just want to go back to 406, which I think demonstrates that the actress who plays Ava is the wrong actress to play Ava. That her character is so unlikable. When she's being tragic, it's not in a good way. So when we think about people like tragic figures, you know, we have the Joker who has these evil things about him, but we love watching him. Like, we have actors who know how to take characters who do mean things, and we love watching them. I can't stand watching Ava do mean things. I just hate her.
It doesn't feel natural.
Wow.
I just, she makes exactly the wrong choices.
As an actor?
As an actor. You mentioned the moment when she blows up at her staff about the lunch thing. It doesn't feel like it's coming from some other thing that causes her to behave this way. She just feels like a bad person.
I think on some level they jibe with each other because they're not great people.
No, but here's the thing.
We're agreeing. Yeah, we're understanding that. We're agreeing to that. But he's saying.
But look at how you feel about Dedra. Dedra does horrible things to people, and I love watching her.
Yes.
I love watching her because I understand where it comes from. I understand the journey she's been on, that this is the way she's learned to cope, and she's just really interesting to watch even when she's being mean. Ava is not fun to watch when she's being mean.
I've just been really discouraged so far, and maybe they can pull it out in the next group. We'll see. Next up, we're going to talk Andor episodes 4 through 6. And this was the pod number 2 or day 2 of Andor episodes. And the center of this is we're on Gorman. We are meeting the new rebels that are on Gorman that are trying to build up a force to figure out they want to steal a shipment of weapons from the Empire. You have 2 problems, though. One is you don't know what you're doing. You're brand new at this. 2, you've been infiltrated by Syril.
It's a setup.
It's a setup. So you have those problems, and then you have Cassian coming in, evaluating you, and basically telling you the truth, which is you guys don't know what you're doing and you suck. But this is one of the first group of episodes where I found Syril to be interesting because him being a spy and seeing him lie, I was impressed that he lied so convincingly because he's such his character has been portrayed as such an uptight, just so righteous kind of character.
Mama's boy.
But I really was like, wow, he's infiltrating this group really well and he's lying way better than I thought. And then when he had to send a secret message to Dedra and he needed to get into the office at night, which I thought was a terrible system to convey messages. Why would he have to go into a secret place that he's not allowed to be in to send a message to his boss? That didn't make any sense. But anyway, I was impressed that he managed to talk his way through past the guards and that he was lying to everybody in a way that they found convincing. I was like, look at you being spy mastercraft guy.
Our little Syril is grown.
Exactly. So this was the first time that I actually found Syril to be interesting.
The episode initially was a little confusing to me because we don't know who's on what team fully.
Right.
So that's the episode where it's like, oh, is Syril being recruited? Oh, he's a double agent. Oh, so I kind of like how the first episode sets up first a question about who's on what team, and then it kind of solidifies it for you to figure out what game is being played. So I enjoyed that. I will say the Cassian Bix storyline is uninteresting to me. It starts here, and we'll talk about it in the future episodes. It kind of remains uninteresting until the very end to me. So I think that's kind of the downside of that episode and subsequent episodes as well.
They went very cliched when it came to their relationship, and then specifically how they handled Bix. Yes, I know she's going through trauma. Yes, I know that they have to deal with that somehow, but just reducing that to a drug.
All the tropes, every trope that you've ever thought.
Cliche.
Yep.
I mean, you've invented this character. You should do something a little more creative with her and have her go through her trauma in a different way. As Malik said, it resolves itself in a really nice way, but you have to slog through all of this to get there.
I think it's in this batch of episodes that Partagaz uses the phrase "calibrate your enthusiasm," which made me laugh. And Tony Gilroy said that they were inspired by Larry David. Basically, Dedra is getting very excited in this meeting about her manipulations of Syril. And when you step back and look at it, Partagaz is manipulating Dedra, is manipulating Syril, is manipulating the rebels. Everybody thinks they're smart manipulating other people, and you have the feeling it's going to end badly for multiple parties.
Pretty much everybody. I just wanted to touch on one thing with Cassian. The way Diego Luna is playing Cassian is very kind of flat. And so what I really enjoyed about him playing the fashion designer is he had levels. Like, he was very much like, I am this great fashion designer.
He's doing his Luthen rail.
Thank you. So what I realized, like, halfway through, I was like, oh my God, he's imitating Luthen. Because he's doing this really big character. But then when the woman broke protocol, the way he brought her down and criticized her was like word for word like what Luthen would have said. And he just slipped in. He got dangerous. And he sounded scary. And then he very quickly flipped back to the super happy fashion designer. And I was like, right there, I like it. Do more of that.
Absolutely. I mean, to me, he's so uninteresting when he's not on a mission. But when he's on a mission, there's a lot of opportunities for things.
Right.
I wrote down the line that you're talking about. He says, I am who you want me to be, but that's just you getting lucky.
Right.
Right. Tell her.
Yeah, because she was because that's the thing is they don't know what they're doing. They think that they know what they're doing, but they really don't. They are not on the level of being real spies. And he came in, he saw their operation, he saw their plan, and he was like, it's a good plan, but you're going to stick behind after the heist is over. Like every heist he's ever done, you do the heist and you get out and you spread out and you just disappear into mist. But these guys are doing a revolution, which is a totally different thing, which is you're doing these bits of resistance in your own backyard and then you have to stay. And he can't conceive of how are you going to get away with it? You're not going to get away with it. Some of your people are going to die. And then what I really liked was that guy explained what a revolution was to him. Mm-hmm. Like, as inexperienced as you say these people are, they understand the stakes.
They think they understand.
They think they understand. Yes,
what they don't realize, which is what the audience understands, is that they're defeated before they ever start.
Correct.
And they are being set up just to do what they're doing as an excuse for PR reasons for the Empire to come in
and kill them all.
For the planet.
Yeah.
Two things I want to talk about real quickly. One, Saw Gerrera, OMG, when he's talking about, and when Willman gets sent to him for training, and he's just like, breathe it in, boy. Oh, and finds a spy, executes the dude, and then in 205 and 206, there's the big party, and the dude's found out that he might have some forgeries, so he's going to do an inspection, and they've got a bug in one of the artifacts, so Clea has to remove the bug during the party with help from Lonnie, who is like totally
not ready for it.
Are you freaking crazy? It's like, you help me now or we're both dead. It's like, this actor is a find. This was her first gig and she's amazing.
The thing about this is they intercut the heist with her trying to remove this bug, the dinner party. Which it seems like the heist would be more interesting because it's big, it's got all these fighting. But I swear to God, every time they cut to I was like, get back to the room. I want to see what's going on in the room. Like, I did not care about the heist. Like, I was just like, oh my God, because you have this.
They ratcheted up the tension.
It was so good because you have, at the same time they're trying to move the bug, You have the people at the party. It's the general. What's his name? Come on, help me out. He's from Rogue One.
Krennic.
You have him going up against Mon, and they're just bantering words to the point where
the dance, man.
you think that Mon is about to get arrested for some of the stuff she's saying. You're like, oh my god, so that's bringing up the tension. But they're only like 5 feet away from her trying to remove this bug, and I was just like, oh my god, like I was just holding on for
and
dear
her hand
life.
is bleeding as she's trying to get this
and then
out.
I was like, you can't bleed, you're leaving evidence behind, you can't do. You got I am screaming at the television. That is 100% how you do tension. The heist was okay. It was fine. There was nothing wrong with it. Yeah, you lose somebody.
Yeah.
But you saw that coming. How many people thought both of those girlfriends were getting they had
I was surprised one of them survived it. Actually,
when they have the conversation, we now found each other. We're going to be together. We're not going to let Luthen tear us apart.
Whenever anybody of whatever gender says that to their, to their significant other, just put a bullseye on their butt.
However, the scene later when the girlfriend is in the van, they're getting away, and she's talking to that kid, and she's like, look at me. And she's like, don't you dare cry. And she gives him this speech about how he's going to carry her death because she was a warrior and you had her die this way. I was like, wow. That got me. I started tearing up on that scene because it was so emotionally profound.
The female characters on this show run the gamut from Dedra, who's just totally evil, to Mon Mothma, who's totally awesome.
Yes.
And then you have Clea, who is freaking amazing. This was her. Let me pull up the actor's name. This is her first gig. Elizabeth Dulau, straight out of acting school in London, and it's I hope she has a long career because she nails this. In fact, they gave her Gilroy gave her so much more to do in season 2 because he saw how good she was in season 1.
She was phenomenal. Everybody was
amazing.
phenomenal.
We've got to comment on Dedra and Syril's homecoming, right? When Syril comes home to his planet and they haven't seen each other in forever.
Oh, the hotness. Oh, my.
It's so funny when she's like, turn out the lights. I was like, oh, we're getting to that now.
I at least wanted to see them kiss to be like, are they really a couple?
I didn't really want to see them.
I was
didn't. Happy with the lights going out.
Yes and no, but I kind of wanted to be like, sell me. I want to believe you guys are a couple. And then when she said, and that authority that she put in to turn off the lights, and I was like, oh.
He's looking for a second mommy.
Oh, God.
He is. The dude.
She is the absolute alpha dominant, and she's so dominant she can dominate his dominating mom.
When Luthen and Cassian are having their confrontation, because Cassian is like, you're coming to my girlfriend when I'm not there, and you do all this and that. Cassian says, he says, I give you everything. And Luthen is like, this is everything? It's like, whoa.
I am not impressed.
Wow.
I am not impressed.
And the thing is, that's a callback to his great speech from season 1, where I think they got an Emmy nomination for that, or they made the short list.
Oh, the one where he's talking to Lonnie guy?
The one where he says, what do I give? And he just enumerates, I give everything.
And he talks about all his everything, and his everything is everything. Yes. And Cassian's everything is not everything.
Not everything yet. He might get there eventually, but not yet.
We know exactly where he's going to be.
Yeah, this is true.
I don't want to know yet.
We're talking Rogue One. We're talking Rogue One, Lydia.
I know.
If you haven't seen that, why are you watching this show?
Well, that's the thing is, I saw Rogue One so long ago that I don't remember it. The only thing I remember is that I wasn't impressed by it, which is why I didn't think I was going to.
You don't remember how it ended?
I do, but we knew that before we started, which was why I wasn't impressed.
Understand. I read something from someone who misunderstood with the ending and was devastated when she found out what it really was, because it was like, I thought it was happy. They were hugging.
Did you see the same movie?
We finally have the Dr. Gorst storyline come to
an end. Yes. That was key.
Come to its explosive finale.
And you get the walk. They didn't quite do slow mo, but you got the walk away from the bombs with the bombs going over your head. But I liked how she told him that it was going to last forever. It's like it'll be a moment, but it'll feel like forever or something like that. That was nice.
That's exactly what he told
she was
her.
calling back the same.
Yeah, I know. That's why I said it was nice.
It was just, it was perfect.
Yeah, very perfect. And it feels like, okay, Bix now has her mojo back, which is what we've all been waiting for.
And it was also nice that while she is the one who took the revenge, when she walks out, you see that Cassian was actually with her to help her execute it.
Yeah.
So they are
helped.
Yeah, they're back together again as an operating team, which is nice.
Yeah, so I thought it ended really well. And then next time we'll talk about the next pod of episodes, which I thought was amazing. And we'll get into those. All right, so that's it. That's all we have to talk about for this week. We'll see you guys next time. And later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.